Hello everyone, and we're here for the new Radeon software. Hopefully you're pretty excited. Let's get to some exciting cool overlays. As you can see that we're already up to some fun stuff here in 3D Mark. Heading it off into the pre-post testing of the A-B portion of these patch notes as we get into information, technology, and a lot of fun stuff. As you excuse me for my more, I guess, baritone voice being sick a little bit, traveling and having a ton of fun at TwitchCon. And if anyone just wanted to TwitchCon, put a comment down below. I would love to know if part of my community and the technology was there. It'd be really fun to say what's up to you guys and gals and get your opinion on like what the next technology is and what you're running and all that stuff. I'm a nerd. Talk to me about nerd stuff and it's like really fun. But anyways, we can get into like more of the news. As the second test that I have ran so far, now hitting the 8,148, and I did switch my rig back over to my Intel for this processing point, so you might see some differences as I've been swinging between my 2950X and my Intel. But getting to the news, we have a lot of stuff that's going to be talking about Vulkan, which I thought was very cool, as well as I do have some footnotes for as far as the image sharpening, which is tremendously helpful if you're utilizing the GPU lines, as well as I do see my card on there, the Radeon 7. So excitingly, let's go ahead and get into the patch notes as the test we have. Now, real fast before we go too far, last time, if you were watching me, you would have noticed that I had trouble on the Firestrike test. I did reach out to 3D Mark and they were tremendously awesome with giving me a lot of helpful information that got me back on track with just simple things that were, well, just needing to be more aligned in the tech reward. So let's go ahead and give it a shot again. I went ahead and turned off the demo so we can just run it as is. I've ran 2 consistent tests of the consistencies of just running Time Strike as its low setting, so it'd be 1080p, not the 4K extreme that we might run afterwards. But in the situation of patch notes, let's go ahead and dive back over there. As you can see, one of the cool things is Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breaking Point, a new entry for a driver setting that hopefully will not get people tuned out just like it did in Borderlands. As you can see, Moxie walking her stuff on this new update. We're going to be testing the excitement. We're going to see a lot of cool stuff. But the imaging sharpening now available on the Radeon 7, the RX Vega 64. Seems like they tuned their Vegas up, so maybe this is finally the update that all of us have been finally investing into. Is this the glorious moment where it turns Super Saiyan Blue? But anyways, and we go down the list, as you can see, the Radeon Vega Frontier and the additional graphics in the product of the Direct 12 Vulkan application. The fixed issues, which you can definitely see down below, right over here, as we kind of get more deeper into the patch notes, which I definitely am digging this like already off the bat, for as far as what they're giving in information. As you can see that the shadows die twice, may exhibit texture corruption during the latter part of the game. The Discord may experience an application hangup when utilizing the RX 5700. During the Navi flight, you may feel a little bumps. But as you can actually see, the series of the graphics card product when the HW accelerator is enabled. Known issues, as in the toggling in HDR, may cause system instability in the gaming during the Radeon in live. Now, we're going to go ahead and I want to pause right there just for the simple reason of, well, wait. I know AMD is releasing so much cool stuff, but like, it's like, seriously, like, I don't get it. The HDR is like the toggling issue that they've always had. And I've always experienced it with instability, but I've always worked around, and I've always said that Relive's always been on that list. But getting back to the fun parts, why don't we go ahead and see this opening scene as these two face off. Round 1. Fight. It's pretty cool though, right? I always like this fight. Firestrike's awesome. But anyways, let's get back to the patch. Not too bad. We ended up rounding up that score at 11,000 581. That's pretty good for it not even being like overclocked. I do have to admit, the last time I ran these scores, I thought it was a little bit lower, but you know, we'd have to have some reference scores for the post and pre, since I've been swapping stuff around, so that's why I'm doing this being the pre. We'll get to the post in just a second after we clear the patch notes. As you can see down on the HDR list, which we covered for the relive, and the top lane of that, which being issued, the display artifacts may be experienced on some 75 Hz display configurations on the Radeon RX 5700. Now you're going to be seeing the Radeon 5700, and more than likely I'm hoping more of the Radeon 7 and other cards that people have invested into on the list, as AMD's popularity, even with like destroying it with 64 cores. I watched Linus's LTT's like freaking example of like how they can just utilize that, and it got me giddy. But then at the same time, I was watching Red Gaming Tech, and Red Gaming Tech had to offer the whole point that like now that instead of going towards the AM like architecture, which gives us up till Zen 3 the promise of like, I guess they're gonna cut off to 4000, which is nice. I mean, like, that's kind of chill. Yeah, are happy things if all the rumors that I'm getting in from it, because I have been out for about 4 to 5 days doing TwitchCon, and that has kind of set me back on a little bit of tech information, so you have to excuse me for digesting a lot of information really fast, just for all my techie fans that are on my oh, I don't need this anymore. It's just my earplugs for like when I was listening to music. But the point being is, in that situation and standpoint, we are coming down to a new conundrum of I guess board setups, but in the best way possible, with everything being there. But let's go ahead and get back to what we're going to, the news. As you can see in the background, I queued up a nice little Firestrike extreme test as we come down and extremely cut out the very ending. And as you can see, the extreme test is just going to float down just very casually as we get down to the very bottom portion of non-display screens. It may go up a little bit, but I just need to get it to this point. And that's just me trying to adjust it, looking somewhat kind of cool. I just wanted to get down to the known issues and not being blocked. I didn't want the screen to be a known issue. But past that point, as you can see in the configuration, the display artifact, which is on that RX 5700 Navi, the Call of Duty Black Ops is the next one on the list, may experience shattering on some system configurations. Open broadcast OBS may experience some frame dropouts and shutters when using the AMF encoding on some setting configurations. But watch out for that. And if you are a streamer, that would be a very useful setting standpoint. So let me know if you are a streamer. I'm very curious the amount of community that watches me that is, and what do you do? I'm very curious also, always curious about what other creators are up to. And HDMI overscans and the underscan options may be missing the Radeon settings on the AM. I'm sorry, I couldn't say that with a straight face as I see my card on the list. As you see, the AMD Radeon 7 system configuration, when the primary display setting is set to 60. I know that card couldn't do that. You really have to put it at the 59, even like all the display settings say that. But they're trying to get there. Then shuttering, it may be experienced on the FreeSync and in enabling for the 240 Hz, the refresh rates on the display screen. And I knew it was going to be the Navi at the very end of that. And the very end of the list, as we come down to the roundabout portion of the known issues that are out there, is the experiencing on the Radeon 7 card an elevated memory clock at an idle on desk. That is a situation they, again, have had for a good second. They haven't really got under control. I feel like when they get that under control, we'll really get to see the full potential of what that architecture is really beautifully, hopefully, mapped out to be for most people that invested into it. And I kind of hope, that's why I'm holding on to it. I'm kind of like, and made amends that if this is the best it is, then I'm happy, okay, for the most part. But I can always take better, and if they want to give us some kind of crazy NVIDIA Super Saiyan update, then I'll take it. But getting down to the portion, you can definitely directly download these both contentable points directly down here, as in both Windows and or your portionable points of 32 to 64 bits that you can conveniently get on the AMD local site. Nice and friendly right there. Installing instructions and all that other fun stuff directly on top of there. So, with that being said, in our extreme test, very well coming down to the very end, and we have all our content, and there's no important notes except for the mobile processors in the Vega questions, which you can always click right there, and they have the known issues. Let's go ahead and get back to the other portion of the testing. And you can see that we've just hit a nice little test of this extreme portion of getting in around 6,541. Not too shabby, I'd like to think, at that portion in time. But let's go ahead and spring ourselves up onto a really cool portion of the testing. As you can see right here, we have ourselves all the tests that I pretty much did. Nice little time spy down to here to a 4K. So take these three as my mapping points, and I'm glad that Fire Strike is working well, since we now have a referenceable point to push forward into the running tests. So let's go ahead and give ourselves a really cool run on these tests with installing the update, shall we? Now first, you're going to go ahead and just right click your screen, get your AMD, go to update, and you can see right here the optional for me is readily available. I got the email and I was super excited to get it, just so I can expressly install it. Now you can hit the release notes down below. I also have them conveniently into the description down below that you can conveniently have at your disposal as we get into this patch install. Now I'm going to go ahead and let it do its thing, and we're going to go to testing as I get to my finite details of this situation. Speed it up. Now one cool thing that I wanted to pull up as I go ahead and just get the install started on the very small screen, and I can bring this up back to where its home page will be right there as we talk about this, is how to configure a AMD virtual resolution, since this is like more of an adoptable point that now people are starting to get more into. Since this is a bigger update, I figured I might pin this one directly on the description board as well down below for everyone, so they can just get more familiarized with what's going down. Now personally myself, this is amazing. Like, I do like the overlays, and you can kind of see the referenceable point of what they're getting into the virtualization as you get the clarity, more pixelation, shadows, and all this other fun stuff, like the sharpening, and like they're trying a lot of really cool crap. And like, and that's why I was really scared at the very beginning of the 19.9 saga, September saga of like weekly updates sometimes, just because it was like starting to get down to the point where it was like, well, I kind of feel like it's hurting my card more than it is. But it was nice to see my card on this list among a lot of other people that invested into the Radeon R7 series, man. I mean, the card's great. I need to utilize it more for gaming, which I don't as much as Borderlands is right there tantalizing me. Should get back into it eventually. But as I get down to the portion of testing this A/B testing, as you can see down the resolution now, that it actually gives you the available cards that are right there and referenceable portions of what has been going down. So a lot of those on the chart ones, and like you can see that even like the RX 400 series graphics cards and the newer ones will be 5K in the resolution point. So there's a lot of other new technologies that are going to be into a whirlwind of fun stuff. But let's go ahead and get down to the portion in just one more second of some nice testing of the post. Let's go round 2. And here we are, round 2, and ready to go for the new install. Already being now the post portion of the rounds of what we love is the 3D mark. So, I already have it pulled up. We can already see everything inside there, and you can see what I'm rocking for as far under the hood as today's testing is going to be going, which is going to be fun. So let's go ahead and fire up a time strike. We'll go against our first and post and pre. Now, I'm going to make these ones a little bit more sped up. I have been promising the community of trying to tighten up the notches as I get a little bit more seasoned to the tech community and getting more tech news. But since I am more in the portion of trying to catch up on my technology and digest, I know a lot of this technology news might be like 3 to 4 days post, but a lot of it I try to grab into where the Theadripper posting, like where I got into, which was really nice, was the more detailed portion of what I wanted to get into gameplay of like knowledge. So one of the things I was able to scope out with the portion of what the testing was is that it's all new pin setup, and like they really never promised that we were going to get up to this zen texture, and quite frankly, if they can't get it done on the same generation of stuff and will promise better and it does go better, I don't mind. I mean, I wish that's not perfect world, but for AMD to advance, and if they've shown what they've done with Rome and more Threadripper with a high clock speed and being able to give 64 cores and a thread length of PCIe 4, I'm okay with it. Because scores like this that are going to be like flickering into amazingness as we get into portions of like GPUs and CPUs like knocking out like marks on a standardized test, you'll see that there's just a lot of portions that like under loads, as you can see it, like the thermostat of this, and like you know, 26 Celsius is like the medium portion, but as it like ramps up on like 4K, then yeah, maybe we get to 30. And we will do one little quick overclock in the very end as we basically do this, and then I'll do a Fire Strike Extreme for as far as the both tests, and we'll just do a post and pre of like the star portion and down to this the test, so you can see just the results of each one. So it would be a lot easier. But like the industry is going really well. Like I think for once we're starting to see that Intel is trying its best, like with trying to market what it's got, but it's going to have to deliver way more of a hard-hitting package into the industry's like I guess inbox to really see the dent that AMD is really trying to do. And I'm not trying to sound like a fanboy. Like I love AMD technology, and I just as much as I love NVIDIA technology, and I just technology in general. I know I'm missing so many other pieces of technology that I've bought throughout the years that I could list, but that'd just be a very long portion of a video upload. The portion that I'm getting at as we get into testing and we go into other overlays is the driving market's moving towards a fun situation of everyone benefactoring off of the race to sell to the commercialized portion of what we want in delivery. Even as like we start seeing like what the Epic Rome can run at and have very low heat problems because of the distribution of low clock, rather than pushing everything out. So what happens when we put a, you know, a TR4, TR8, depending on what variable points of what they go in like lengths of like bandwidth, and seeing like the improvements of what we can really get. So for me, maybe a TR4 might be perfect because I'm not going to be an insane server. I'm just a person that wants an extraordinarily good enthusiast computer that can encode in 8K, which would be great. I already know they can do it with a Rome processor, so it would be very well a speculable point of interest to see it be done inside of an actual Threadripper, provided it's in the same portionable driving technology that they can utilize that with a higher clock speed. So it's like I want to see same results as it kind of bounces around. Now this is running pretty decent. My Intel's like not that bad to handle this test. Once we get to 4K, it's going to shit out. Quite frankly, as we'll would see at any kind of standpoint. So that's why I don't really run it at that portion in time. It's just easier just to see like where the improvements are as far as the update goes into post and pre's, as we kind of see each individual testing, as we can have a little bit of fun, you know, with these situations and making this a little bit more like informative of what goes down to a portion. So as you can see, the clock and the temperature of our test is 8138, which is telling me something as normal since it's a brand new driver. TimeSpy doesn't know what's going down. Oh my glob! Your score contains the following anonymized graphics driver that's not approved. Oh no! I knew it was coming. I quite frankly knew it was going to end up coming down to that. As you can see, we have our test results right there in the comparison of the times, as well as our comparison is last one. So first on top, as you can see directly, is the TimeSpy direction. And then you can see where I've highlighted on number 4, which is the most recent one that was done before it. You can see it dropped just a tiny bit, but again, this is just TimeSpy. We haven't gone into Firestrike, and Firestrike should work perfectly fine, provided that there's no hiccups, which I'm hoping, fingers crossed, we will be good. So let's go ahead and begin, shall we? So just booting up the forefront of where we're going with this shouldn't take too long to see it go into play, so I'll go ahead and just skip along till we get to the end. Seems like everything loaded in pretty much perfectly. I'm not having any issues at all, so thank you 3D Mark and your awesome team of representatives that are quite hastily fast. That's one thing I would love to say. If you've ever worked with technology and you want to know stuff really responsibly in like a program where you're trying to test and best and stuff, they're really responsive through a creator standpoint. That was super awesome because it was able for me to understand a lot of stuff personally myself. But yeah, in AMD technology news, it's really great. Now on Intel, on the other flop, to see like where we're going in the situation, because I do have Intel news as well as some NVIDIA news coming out to the table of like what we have into gameplay as we go into the standpoints of testing the Firestrike. As I kind of give a little more, we go to a situational point of now them actually commercializing a 10-core processor. Now clock speeds have been posted on the situation of what's going down to what they are giving us an informational news, but like what will end up happening if we end up with a 10 core that goes to 5 or 4? like the ranges of that we've already toyed with, but now they just have 2 more cores, and they're going to be competing against a lot more towards the 3950X that's going to be hitting the market directly. Yes, it might be arriving late, but it is 7 nanometer architecture that is a little bit more pristinely ready to come out. And I don't blame AMD for waiting, because quite frankly, they got enough flack from the other processing point. They want to make sure they probably send this one out really great with the Threadripper line directly inside of November, which I'm super excited for. I'm ready to invest as we get towards the Black Friday deals, and like it's going to be exciting to see so many partner boards come out, and then probably run some great deals for me as a creator trying to like build one like day one, which we as a community can like sit down. I guess that'd be kind of cool and build a computer together, whatnot. I mean, we can do a live stream with that. That might be pretty cool. But maybe I'll just piece it together in video, see part by part come to life. It's kind of cool, right? But as we get down to the more of the PC physical point, now we go down to NVIDIA news. NVIDIA news now is coming out with a 1660 Super. Are you serial? Like, when I heard that, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. You guys are really just getting down to the point of giving out the market of what is out there. But hey, you know what? If that's what NVIDIA wants to bring to the table and they want to continue to bring it up, and there's nothing really that much more different inside of it except for the memory length. There's like a 6, the GDDR6 lanes. So it's like, yes, I get it. Like, but like, now it's just like, are you serial? You can release a new update too around the corner, and like just like, you know, like do some kind of Jiren flare up where Goku is like left to like push his body to the maximum and fall and collapse, and all of a sudden 17 and the rest of the gang pops out of nowhere with a score of 11,648. Not too bad, actually. I think that might and very well beat it. So let's check out the scores in comparison. And as you can see, highlighted in 4, we have very well seen a very good improvement in the Radeon 7 card from my card, as well hopefully others. And if I would like to take one point and pause out and ask for the portion of people that are on this video and have watched this far, give me a moment of your time, put down what GPU you have and what installation of drivers that you've been using and what you've been experiencing. I'd be very interested to get down to it. I might not get back into the commentation of getting there just right on the bat, but I would be very equally interested to see what other people commentate on top of that as well, because it's just the direct portion of, are we all experiencing this, or is it just flukes here and there because of other drivers that are inflicting it? Who knows? But we all might know together. With our scores pointed out, let's go ahead and start the final score before we do one overclock. Tonight's final standard test will be written in Firestrike. As you can see, I have all the running tests of just me being normal. Let's go ahead and get this underway and see the final test as we zip through as the very ending as it comes into gameplay. Okay, so 6,500 even. Let's get to the comparisons. 74 to 74, but dollars to dollars, apples to apples, we can see that it's not always matching up to be the 41 that it's missing on the very top. Now, consistently you can run the test over and over again, but it has shown on one other test on the other side, if I probably ran it on Time Strike on Extreme, it'd probably show the same thing where it was just faltering if we had ran another comparison. But let's get to an overclock, and we will test if we can shatter that 41 and get to everything since we have a base. Our 6,500 maybe is more refined. Maybe it's some Super Saiyan Blue going into some on top of his Ultra Instinct mode and awesome proportion of 7 and anyways, let's get to the test and overclock. As you can see, I already have it pulled up for a direct global point of where we'll be getting into the global settings, going into the global allotment, and seeing where it goes into. Now, personally myself, I like to fiddle with it, but just to have a fair comparison of what majority of people are going to be doing, I think the fair overclock would be just the auto, which personally myself I can run into. Now you can push it to the limit, but the whole point in the gamble right now is trying to beat it A to B and seeing if we can beat it with just a normal overclock that their software update is doing. Anyone can, with a very good understanding of the way that GPUs operate, can beat a normal score, but let's see if they can beat their own scores and as they project. Now, I'm glad that they're not projecting, hey, this one was a 10% increase or this. It just seems like these were fixes and an applicationable points. So let's go ahead and get into our auto overclock. Hit continue. fly and see where we end up as the max voltage. Oh no. Did it just blow the screen? Dun dun dun. Huh. Well, I'll be damned. It is technical difficulties with that situation. Well, give me a second. I'll figure this out since I actually have it on a different format of just recording. This should be very easy to deduce something, MacGyver something, and come back very easily, like as of. And as you can see now, there was a hiccup. It actually did just restart itself. As you can see, Windows is just booted in. So let me log in. We're back into the matrix of my computer. And as you can see in this situation, sometimes NVIDIA does have these hangups, but it's not that bad. The technology is good, don't get me wrong, I like it. But personally myself, there's a lot of other cool options too as well. Okay, real quick reset, and now we're seeing some nice promising numbers for an overclock, and it seems stable. So let's go ahead and hit continue. Hope that these vital signs just do its thing. One thing that I would hope to hopefully change in a situation, if it allowed me to, would be the fan, but I'm just gonna let it do its thing. I would love to run the fans ramped up. But let's go ahead and get to 3D mark. We'll run our extreme test because we want to get over 6,500. We're seeing blue, maybe not shattering plateaus. Off to a good start, and we already have ultra fired up. Let's see what the scores end with the round 3 of the overclock and see what we can get. Well, she's in full swing. As you can probably hear me and my audio fighting itself, you can see the temperature starting to play around as a vortex of hot and cold, like a Katy Perry song, is dancing inside of my CPU case, making it almost neo-awesomeness. Seriously, that'd be cool. I mean, I do have blue lights. I knew she had blue hair for once at one point in time. But anyways, we're not talking pop culture, we're talking tech culture. Sometimes those do mingle. But the point being is, in the situation of what we can get into fun gameplays and run into, we can see that this is off to a great start. We're getting some very solid scores, as you can see down below. Now, I haven't utilized the Radeon overlay since I had the epic crash, and like the point, I didn't really want to push it. But eventually I could integrate that in so people can see down below a little bit easier. But since I'm encoding in 4K and uploading directly, it shouldn't be that big of an issue. It's usually when I'm doing like downscale 1080p, like the frame rush principle. But if I guess the community wanted a little bit more of a cooler overlay, it was easily read, I wouldn't mind doing that either. Or I can just work on that and see if A/B test that. Who knows? You guys can tell me, and you gals can tell me, like, is it cool or not? But let's go ahead and see what the end of this test looks like. On like Donkey Kong. It's right. The final rounds here. Who will conquer? I don't know, but like it's interesting that the GPU like ramped up to ramp down. I feel like it's just gonna like spiral up like it is right now. Oh my, oh. Well, you're just quite talkative, aren't you there, Radeon card? Because your outer case is like getting like to a very nice decadent. And I know in the core, the chiplets itself, it was probably a lot more decadently hot. It cannot be just that cold. That's just the case point of like with the fins on the outside. Now we shattered it. Holy Toledo. It was a good overclock at a situation of that point. But let's go one step farther. Can I beat it? Final round. Final round. One fun little intermediate little point that I'd like to point out is you can toggle this off and on and get a pretty cooler, sharper image. I thought I might just point that out since I did showcase that a little bit in the end. You know, this is where you can kind of like make your computer dance a little bit easier if you're on that list. But yes, as that point goes down point, let's go to our final round. Other selectable portions also would be here as well as the sharpening. So those coupled, I'd like to point out. Didn't want to forget one without the other. It's a salt and pepper type vibe. But just to make sure that we're running it exactly the same, I want to make sure those are turned off. That way we can push forward. On my mark. Ready, set, go. So, let's see if this actually freaking works. If mine stands out, the results will be posted in just one quick second as we get into gameplay points of will this even work. I might have made it fly into the air and turn into a solar flare. Yeah, so it's a solar flare for right now. Give me 1 second. I'll bring it back to life and we'll get a nice overclock that I can actually try to beat the last score that I set. Ready, set, go. Retake. So, take 2. Let's hope this one runs a lot easier. So far it's booting up well, but we all remember the ready, set, go, and that doesn't seem like it's really well when it's already got a line across the screen. But let's have optimism. Let's see what happens here. I might have turned up the VRAM a little too high, but who knows? Well, it got at least about 30 feet out the gate. It worked. Crash. Progress. I'll get it. I'm gonna beat it. Moment of truth. I finally got an overclock dialed in that might do it. The question is, will this be the end? But at the very end of this video, if it is, thank you so much for staying tuned to my network. I appreciate your time and investment inside of here. And if you do, who knows? Maybe we can reverse time and save these mountains, because we too can fight the climate control. That's right. As a world and united, we can. But all subscription humor aside, we beat it, we shattered it, and we had a fun time doing it. And I appreciate you being part of that. And as the MacGyver7 channel and all the returnees, I appreciate you all too. Drop a comment down below what graphics card you are. I know I said that once or twice during the situation, but as you can see in the comparisons, as I have my Radeon 7's card, I'm wondering what everyone else is getting in scores as well. Not too bad, bringing ourselves into almost a 9% increasement in directional point right there with overclocking over that headroom. And you can see the last 3, which is the 65, which is just their normal stock, their overclock, which is their auto overclock, not doing anything under or overvolted, which I know a lot of people do like to mix up with a lot of undervolted, which is great suggestions. I see a lot of great success with commentable points, but just with my little shifty MacGyvered portion of an overclock, I was able to get 7,147 with the 19.9.3 Adrenalin software update that AMD has brought to the table. Thank you guys and gals, and I will see you in the near future for more installments of the updates as we come into gameplay. And cheers again for being part of the network and spending your time. Have a great day, and I'll see you all in the near future. Stay classy.